Our Stories, written by Sister Diane Maddox, read by Sister Roseanne Champagne. September 29th, 1974. Dear Diane, that's so great that you got baptized today. Congratulations on a great decision. I want to fill you in on what's to come. It's mostly so great. Some stuff is not so great, but stick with me and you'll get through it. In a few years, you're going to meet this guy named Chuck. He'll be kind of rough around the edges, but he'll shape up. He'll get baptized and then, get this, he'll be ordained an evangelist one day. Crazy? I know, right? Then you'll marry him and have 3 children. 2 will be born in Florida and 1 will be born in Ohio. You won't just be visiting Ohio when she is born in 1993. You're going to move there in 1992. There's going to be so much good there. And of course, as life goes, some really not so good stuff. In the not so good category, your health will eventually decline. I know you're wondering, why would I let this happen? Do you want a good story or not? There has to be some exciting twists and turns in every good story. There are a lot of illnesses out there, but the one that you'll have to deal with for a while is called epilepsy. Yes, it's a scary one, but just keep reading. After 18 years in Ohio, you'll return to Florida. Your parents and in-laws will be so happy because they'll be getting to the age when they really appreciate your help. Even though you've already been experiencing seizures for a few years, epilepsy will really begin to rear its ugly head after your move to Florida in 2010. You will put yourself in dangerous situations, but I'll be right there with you. As ugly as this is, the good stuff I'm preparing for you will overshadow the negative things that will come your way. Just like Paul wrote to the Romans, "For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. Your suffering will be well outweighed by the glory that will be revealed." The 3 kids I mentioned earlier will be born healthy. I know it's hard for you to imagine at the young age of 14, but one day you're going to be a grandmother. And even though genetically she'll be at risk for a serious illness, that won't be a part of her story. She'll be born healthy. Right about the same time you were born, I created this man named Bill, who lives in Cleveland, Ohio. He'll become a neurosurgeon. I've set it up so that in 45 years you'll meet him and he'll be able to help you get rid of the seizures that had been plaguing you for the last decade or so. Remember the story in the Bible of the woman with the issue of blood? Your story will be as good as hers. There could have been other parts to your story, but there were times you asked me to change things, and I did. You'll never know those parts, but trust me, you dodged some pretty big bullets. But I couldn't say yes every time because I really wanted to make you a better person. Somehow, you are reading this when you're 63 years old. I'm not sure how you got a hold of this, but since I know your story and I knew you would be reading it now, I'm going to stop now. I don't want there to be any spoilers. Just stick close to me, and your story will have a very happy ending. Love, God. That's some story, right? Just as God said I should, I'm going to try my best to stick with Him. That is the only way that any of us will have a happy ending to our story. And doesn't everyone love happy endings? Just imagine if we knew our story before we lived it. Would we try to change it? Wouldn't it just be easier sometimes if we knew it was all going to be okay? Even in the chapters that don't end the way you want them to, if you do your best, you will most certainly have a happy ending. What's your story? Try to write it from God's perspective. For those of you that have children, it's a bit like when your parents would say, "When you have kids, you'll understand." See your story from our Father's perspective, and you will most likely see how each step of your life weaves together perfectly to make your perfect story. Choose your starting time. For me, I chose the day of my baptism, but my story really began before that, because before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Jeremiah 1:5. If you'd like to share your story, I'd absolutely love to read it. Send it to gospelblog@thechurchofjesuschrist.org. Wouldn't it be so cool if so many of us wrote stories that we could compile a book, a storybook? Here, we've written your first line for you. Dear, you fill in your name.